I'm John Lanier. I'm the executive director of the Ray C. Anderson Foundation. And I want to start by saying we have in the room Ray Anderson's two daughters, Marianne Lanier and Harriet Langford, and as well their husbands, the four trustees in total of our foundation. So I have the honor of speaking for them and thanking you all, thanking the folks who have pulled today together. To Daniel, to Blair, to the entire team, we are so thrilled to support this and grateful for the efforts that have gone into it. I think probably most people here know the Ray Anderson story. But for anybody that doesn't, Ray founded Interface, the world's largest carpet tile manufacturing company. And in 1994, he read a book that changed his life, The Ecology of Commerce by Paul Hawken. And for the last 17 years of Ray Anderson's life, he was committed to making his large multinational industrial manufacturing company as sustainable as possible. Ray was world known for his efforts on environmentalism, and he said many things, but there's two things that Ray said that I want to share with you this morning. One of them he said to everybody, and one of them he said to just me. In 2004, I was visiting at his home. I was 18 years old. I was finally sophisticated and mature enough, or so I thought, to ask a meaningful environmental question of my grandfather. I said, if you had a magic wand and could solve one environmental issue right now, what would it be? He did not miss a beat, and he said global warming. That's 15 years ago, and he understood that this was the issue that would be the dominant one humanity would have to grapple with for the rest of the 21st century. The second thing that he said to everybody is to brighten the corner where you are. And I think that that embodies what our foundation is trying to do on climate change. It's the issue that faces our species. And we feel like our foundation can make a real, true, meaningful impact here at home in Georgia. And we feel that that effort is how we can help advance Ray Anderson's legacy. Unfortunately, we're not alone in doing that work of advancing Ray's legacy. You all are doing that here today. And we are also fortunate to have the people of Interface continuing to build upon what Ray started, now led by Jay Gould, the third ever CEO in Interface's 46-year history. Jay joined the company in 2015. Under his leadership, Interface has embarked on their next environmental mission called Climate Take Back. The company envisions a world where business and industry helps to reverse global warming. They, at the company, have pioneered a new vision for a carbon negative model. They see carbon dioxide as a resource. And as they have embarked upon this work, they have set a new industry standard, becoming the first in their industry to sell all of their products as carbon neutral. Jay is a graduate of the University of Dayton, having graduated summa cum laude. He holds an MBA from Harvard Business School. He lives in Atlanta with his wife, and they have 3 children. Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Gould.
All it takes is one spark to ignite a change for us all.
The world we live in, the air we're breathing, it's our lives if we just believe.
We don't get no second chances, life is happening now. We can take our home for granted, gotta plant the seed somehow.
Let's love the planet. Oh,
is happening now. We can't take our home for granted. Gotta plant the seed somehow.
Let's love the planet. Oh, we're all done. It's where we live. We're only one. If we wanna change the world, it starts with everyone. Living in the universe and underneath the sun. 'Cause we got one life. 'Cause we got one life.
Mother Nature, you held us in your arms. Mother Nature, the world beneath the stars. Daughter Nature, can we hold you in our arms? Daughter Nature, the world beneath the stars.
Love the planet. Oh, we're all done. Where we live. We're only one. If we wanna change the world, it starts with everyone. Living in the universe and underneath the sun. 'Cause we got one life. 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 'Cause we got one life.
Daughter Nature, we will hold you in our arms.
Hi, I'm Jay. I'm a climate optimist. This morning, I'd like to share with you the story of how I became a climate optimist. I'm almost embarrassed to admit, only 5 years ago, I was a climate change skeptic. Perhaps I watched too much Fox News. But clearly, I was unwilling to understand the science behind this change. So one of the real heroes in this story I'm going to tell is this man, Ray Anderson. Ray was a pioneer of purpose-driven business. In fact, in 2001, when I was the chief innovation officer of the Coca-Cola Company, and we were in a bit of a funk. We had just laid off a lot of people. We had a new CEO, Doug Daft, and he asked me and several other people to go out and study purpose-driven companies. The very first company that we went to study was Little Interface. Unfortunately, on the day the team went over to meet with Ray, I was out of the country and I never met him. But he had such a huge influence on my life. He taught us how to run companies that were both purposeful and profitable. You know, Ray was a great entrepreneur. He started the company in 1973, but it was in 1994 when he had that spear in the chest moment. And he committed to this vision to actually influence the world and demonstrate to others that we could create a more sustainable world for tomorrow's child. And ultimately, he felt like he could restore the environment to its natural place. Ray likened the journey on which he was taking the company to being as difficult as climbing Mount Everest. So he called it Mount Sustainability. And the progress that the company has made over the last 25 years, we just celebrated our 25th anniversary, is simply remarkable. We've had an 89% reduction in our use of water. Globally, we manufacture in 7 countries around the world. Globally, we've had an 89% reduction, or 89% increase. 89% of all energy that we use around the world is from renewable sources. We've had a 69% reduction in our carbon footprint. These are amazing results. We've also had the opportunity to influence a lot of companies along this journey. And I think Ray is probably in the room today smiling at us. He would be so proud of the work that we have done, we collectively around the world. So I'm quite confident that at Interface we say we live zero today. We want, mission zero was about having no negative impact on the earth. When I joined the company in the beginning of 2015, because Ray had died in 2011 and the company just flatlined. No revenue growth, no earnings growth. So I was invited in by the CEO of Interface to come and help get the company back on track. Quite frankly, it was very appalling to many of the Interface employees around the world because I had no sustainability credentials. I simply wanted to get the company back on track. And I asked the sustainability people to get us a very clear path to 2020 because we would make the investments required to deliver on Ray's commitments. Late in the fall of 2015, when I felt confident we did have that path to deliver on Ray's commitments, I brought together his original Eco Dream Team. These are the leading sustainability minds of our time. Paul Hawken, Janine Benyus, Bill Browning, and others. Frankly, I was just looking for a high five, a pat on the back, a way to go, Jay, because you're going to deliver on Ray's commitment. And I'll never forget having the conversation. Paul Hawken looked at me very sternly and said, "That's good. It's not good enough." Interface is the type of company that takes on the world's greatest challenges, and you have to do more. I looked at him a little stunned and said, "Paul, what would you expect of us? We're a small company." And his response was, "Global warming." And so I said, I'm not ready to take that on. I don't think we can do that. But he forced me, through Janine, to study the science behind global warming. And in fact, there was a pathway out. Now, before we launched that next sustainability mission, I wanted to know, what is the true purpose of the company? We had intertwined the word purpose and mission together. Mission Zero was a great mission. It was time-bound. It had metrics around it. It had responsibilities assigned to it. But it wasn't the why. So we set out on a project to understand what was in Ray's head, what was in his heart when we started. And we uncovered, I think, a very provocative set of words which we use as our purpose. That purpose informed our next mission. But the purpose we articulate is to lead industry to love the world. Very provocative words, by the way, to be so bold as to say we're going to lead industry. But we know if we want radical change, it can't just come from Interface. We have to bring the whole world with us. Can you imagine going around the world and talking about love in the workplace? That was a little interesting in places like Thailand. I think the most challenging was in Northern Ireland. The guys did not want to talk about love until we started talking about their soccer teams, and then everything was fine. So leading industry to love the world became our purpose, but our next mission became climate takeback. And the science fits up with this. I don't have time to go into the science behind these 4 pillars, but let me just quickly explain them to you. Live zero. That's an acknowledgement that Mission Zero continues. Doing no harm is a muscle that we all have to build. And as we expand our business around the world, we bring new companies in, we start on new journeys to get them to live zero. Secondly, love carbon. Carbon is not the enemy. We have simply placed it where it does not belong. Today, we know it's technically viable, although not economically viable, to literally suck carbon from the atmosphere. The third pillar, let nature cool. Mother Nature knows how to suck carbon out of the atmosphere. We've overwhelmed her. We have to help promote biodiversity. And lastly, lead in an industrial re-revolution has 2 major components to it. First, a recognition that there will soon be 9 billion people on this planet, and we must create inclusive business models. But perhaps more importantly, we believe that corporate governance is really required. Corporate governance change is really required. We cannot exist to only create value for share owners. So at Interface, we talk about creating value for 4 key stakeholders: our customers, our employees, our share owners, but also the environment. And we put metrics against all of those stakeholders to make sure we're creating value every year for those 4 key stakeholders. John mentioned in his opening remarks that every product that we sell globally is carbon neutral. We get there through 25 years of really hard work, and that last bit, we purchase carbon offsets. Now, I have to tell you, in 2016, I was petrified to launch Climate Takeback. Petrified, because we had no clue how we were going to do it. And I was putting the entire reputation of Interface at risk. But an amazing thing happened. And one of the reasons why I'm such a climate optimist, 1 year after we made the announcement about Climate Takeback, the R&D team came up with a prototype, but it was the first ever carbon negative carpet tile. 1 year after that, in the summer of 2018, we commercialized the backing system of that so we could get some on-floor performance. 1 year after that, we had a major breakthrough. That was this past summer. We had a major breakthrough in processing technology. I'm currently in the process of investing $50 million in LaGrange, Georgia, so that we can manufacture carbon negative products. And we will be selling those products all around the world. And furthermore, I have committed the company to be carbon negative with no offsets by the year 2040. So in closing, this is a story about human ingenuity, and it's a story about optimism. And I hope you can take that back with you, because if a small company like Interface can do this, anyone can do it. And if anyone can do it, everyone should do it. Thank you very much.